Gross.
All right, guys. Well, ready or not, we're live.
Okay, man, I'm glad. I wish that the last conversation we had was part of this stream. That would have been killer content.
Well, I may or may not have been recording.
It's a good thing I'm not running for office anymore, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing that I want to say up front is that for this whole week or this whole 2-week period since you've been scheduled, I don't know what I was thinking. For some reason, I was thinking that you were Joe Jorgensen's running mate. So I kept saying, yeah, I know, it was my mistake.
If only. No, I got to interview him today for Adam versus the Man. And we found out that he actually was lying when he said he could travel back in time to kill baby Hitler, that was just a campaign promise. I know there are a lot of people who are like, well, then I'm never, Spike Cohen didn't mean that, all right, I'm never voting libertarian again.
Yeah, right.
We had a lot of fun. And, actually, and along, obviously, with the theme of this show, I've been a long crypto enthusiast and booster. Today, I had my friend Alistair Cathnis on, and he is with Zion Coin tokenizing the oil and gas industry, and was helping with our AmeriCoin project for the campaign, which would have tokenized the U.S. federal government assets in order to distribute them equally to everybody with a social security number. But oh man, like every time I talk to him, I get excited again about this. Maybe you guys are better people I feel like now I'm taking over. I'm running this interview. I'm going to ask you guys questions.
Please.
But one of the things that I wanted to ask him about that I didn't get to because I didn't really need to because I was so excited by what he's showing. And by the way, he's working now with CalExit, California Independence Movement. Really exciting that it's possible in the near future we might see the unraveling of the empire through its most liberal state leaving first. Texas isn't going to miss California. It's kind of an easy one to pull off, right? I mean, here in Arizona, we wouldn't really miss Texas either. But don't tell them that. They don't know. They think we're cool. But yeah, so working with CalExit, California Independence Movement, what's possible with blockchain to tokenize large-scale industrial assets, particularly in energy with oil and gas for starters, but also into alternative sources. What that has the potential to in revolutionizing how energy is dealt with on the market and taking out so many inefficiencies of the current system that prevent us, from really realizing our potential. It's like, I don't know. It was mind-blowing. I think, oh yeah, if we just implemented a system like this, we'd have almost free energy from a consumer level. We're already capable of this. Why aren't we doing it? Why, we don't even realize the limitations. Why don't you have, everything you could possibly get produced by electricity in the home? Well, because government. And as an amateur economist, I hear this from him, and it's like, yeah, wow. So my enthusiasm is restored in blockchain and Bitcoin, but I haven't been seeing a lot of Bitcoin donations lately. That's my main way I get them. I don't earn them. I talk on the internet and people give me money. Like, it's pretty cool. But it hasn't been happening that much lately. And I wonder with you, is it just me? Am I doing something wrong? Or has there been, even with recent price increases, kind of a wane in enthusiasm in the crypto sphere overall over the last, year or so?
Nicole, I'm going to let you take this one first.
Yeah,
Am I crazy?
I think there are a number of things going on, and one of them is that Bitcoin specifically has become more of a store of value than it has been like an actual, donation payment method, and that since people think that its value will increase, along with other cryptocurrencies, they're more reluctant to use them.
Yeah. See, that is so unfair because I can't even tell you. I literally cannot count how many $5 Bitcoins I spent on drugs on the Silk Road just because I wanted to promote the Bitcoin ecosystem. It wasn't about getting high for me at all. I just wanted... No, but I did actually. I've always been a user of Bitcoin, mainly because I've been bad at saving and investing, but also because I believe in using it. I believe in getting the currency out there, and I've like what most of what I do, like, with crypto has been accepting it as donations or for sponsors and using it to buy, studio equipment and stuff like that, or stuff for my homestead, or use it to pay people. And that was always my favorite use of it, is when I had staff we'll work for Bitcoin. Yeah, give it to us off the record, under the table, no taxes. Yeah, we can do that. And I just, it's been a while. It's been a while. Although I am kind of rebuilding Adam versus the Man now, after focusing on the presidential campaign, and really the unpresidential campaign, the not presidential campaign, to dissolve the entire federal government, obviously. And really, I mean, it's a radical proposal in politics, but it's really pretty mild in terms of the first step of localization. Do we really need this particular level of centralization of government? Could we have 50 independent states without the sky falling? I think we can do it, America. But, the LP will show Jorgensen for the direction for this year. Happy to support her. But, now I'm getting back to my political off-season career. And it's been a while. I'm now, I talk for Internet on the Money. I talk for money on the internet. Yeah. I'm really good at my job.
Yeah.
So rebuilding Adam versus the Man, I'm having a lot more fun with this right now. Doing the studio work, I do a 2-hour show 5 days a week. I get to spend more time on Twitter, and that's how Nicole and I started chatting. By the way, I have to promote this. I have to plug this. On Saturday, I did a follow train, hashtag no libertarian under 1K.
I saw
it's working. Like, it's actually, things don't work on social media for libertarians. We're the autistic kids in the back of the room. Facebook and Twitter don't like us. Like, that's okay. It's censorship, algorithms, all that. But this tweet has almost 800 retweets already. Maybe with your audience, we can get it to 200 to 1,000 by the end of the show. We can actually give libertarians a chance to have this community where they can, just have more of a connected space. I want a safe space for libertarians on Twitter. I don't want us to have to. There's so much statism out there, and as a veteran with PTSD, I really get triggered hearing Cadet Bone Spurs Donald Trump talk about war. Hearing as a veteran of the drug war, having gone to jail for victimless crimes, when I hear them say we should lock people up for smoking cannabis, my heart rate. So I need to make sure that I have a safe space for me and my fellow libertarians on Twitter. No, it's awesome though. We've had this really beautiful community building experience this weekend. And if you're on Twitter and Nerd Girl here certainly is, it'd be, I'm sorry, I forget what you have. It's Nerd Girl something. What's your handle? What?
007.
That's it. Yeah, right. So follow Nicole, follow me at Adam Kokesh, jump on the libertarian follow train, and we'll have a lot of fun with that. Build the community.
Yeah, I just went ahead and put that in the comment section of both the platforms that we're streaming to right now. We're on DLive and we're on Twitch today. We decided not to go with YouTube on the off chance that they, decided to shut the party down early. You already saw the tweet. Let me go straight to the most offensive thing I can say about this, if I may. Let me ruin my entire position. I'm going to talk about pedophiles in a way that makes it sound like I'm defending them. And I'm not. I'm totally not. It's the opposite. This is the last, silly thing about censorship I got into on Twitter, where people virtue signaling and white knighting say they want to censor pedophiles. There are pedophiles operating in the open, grooming people on Twitter, so we should censor them. How about just stop them? What? And censorship always backfires to begin with. No, there's the Streisand effect, obviously, but with pedophiles, there's some pedophiles that are dumb enough to operate in the open, and you want to just tell them to shut up instead of go catch them. And they're saying, well, your government doesn't go after them. Then you do it. I mean, really, you're going to not a pedophile, but someone who's actually, preying on children. You go that. Hey, you want vigilante justice? Oh, no one's going to complain if you take out someone doing that.
But like you want to, and so like this censorship thing, it's really sad to see people, still giving in to the knee-jerk temptation of censorship. Because like, why I think of Walter Block's defending the indefensible, and it's like, as a libertarian, I'm an ethical person. If you're not hurting someone, I'm not going to use force to stop you or advocate that someone else use force to stop you. I might not like it, but by saying that you should have the right to do it, I'm not saying that you should, that I endorse or support it, or that I would do it myself. Like, hey, you don't like smoking weed? Don't smoke it. You don't like gay marriage? Don't have one. You don't like butt sex? Don't let someone put it in your butt. Like, it's not that complicated. You don't need to pass a law that says I'm not allowed. Well, those things. All right, we'll not get into those things. But like, do you need to forcibly interfere with other people's rights? And it's kind of the same thing with censorship, where with libertarians now, you can't. We have let it go so far. On YouTube, you have to check a box on every video to warn the YouTube community if you are going to mention the virus which shall not be named. Are you kidding me? And it's just, obviously with Corona, they're using that as the excuse, a virus with a lower mortality rate than trying to spend a counterfeit $20 bill in Minneapolis. And that's why we're locking down the economy. The suicides now are already higher than the COVID deaths, irrefutably, in some places, even with the inflated COVID numbers. And
yeah, let's talk about that, man. Let's do a little off ramp here for just a minute, and let's unpack that one little bit right there. Like you're saying, suicide rate, man. We've already got a problem. Adam, you're in your late 30s, right? Mid to late 30s.
Yeah. Hey, man, you really got to rub it in.
Well, believe it or not, I'm many years older than you. but
I'm in my late 30s.
I would card both of you if I was still tending bar.
Well, I mean,
kiss ass like that.
Well, here's where I'm going with that, man. We already know, man. There's already a pandemic. There's already a health problem for men our age. We already are affected disproportionately in recent years with not just depression, but with the worst kind of depression. And I mean, there's already a problem, man. So now you got people who are staying at home all day, people with their prospects being completely cut off at the knees, people, being stingy with their Bitcoin tips, like you mentioned before, and all the rest, right? So, life is stressful enough when you don't bottle up the alpha male, right? But now you do, right? You cage him, and you tell him, like, deal with it alone.
Yeah. No, there are two major aggravators along the lines of what you mentioned there. And there is a uniquely male crisis around suicide right now. And I think there are two particular, really three, as you touch on there, phenomena that need to be examined instead of swept under the rug by society. And one is military and veteran suicides. And you've heard the number 22 a day, and then they said, oh, look, it went down to 20 a day. Like, oh, cool. Now we don't have to worry about that problem. And then, and it was always hugely underreported. How many veterans get drunk and go, forget it. I'm just going to wrap my car around a tree. That's, is that technically a suicide? Maybe it doesn't need to be counted, but it needs to be counted in a category right next to it and addressed the same way. Then you have victims of family law. And this is something that cuts both ways, and especially for children. But when you rip families apart because you trust government as the third legal party in every marriage, that's what you do. When you get government married, you are inviting the government to be a legal third party in your marriage. It's really sick. And if you go, men's rights movement, and I'm not a big member of the men's rights movement or anything, guys.
Yeah, don't go MGTOW on us, man.
Yeah, I'm married, not MGTOW. But there is that, men going their own way trend. And a lot of it's because just the way that government has come to intervene in family law
It's not worth it for a lot of dudes. They'd rather just jerk off alone the rest of their lives than deal with women. And it's really sad. It's really sad, but that's a real thing. That's a trend.
I'm trying not to laugh.
And there are really serious issues with men in custody, and specifically in Arizona. I think it's the most tried case. You might be familiar with it. Do you know Marshall Beck?
No, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Surprise. Actually,
it's like, hey, you were in the Army. Do you know a Private Johnson?
No.
You live in Arizona. Do you know this guy?
No. Sorry. It's because he has the most tried case for men's rights issues in the whole country. And he's really kind of like an active member of why am I drawing a major blank? The 3%er community. So I thought that we have crossed paths.
Yeah, Cash Jackson also, hey, by the way, please, send me his contact info. I want to get him on the guest list for Adam versus the Man already. We've talked to Cash Jackson and Chris Cole. The thing is, we had a group because we had one really motivated volunteer for the presidential campaign this year. I shout out to Chris Cole because he started Victims of Family Law for Kokesh. And what I always said is that the victims of family law issue, and this is, I'm a child of divorce. My parents went through a really nasty divorce in California when I was 10. It didn't finish for years. It's disgusting how the government, allows itself to be weaponized by people going through that. But, for CPS, anybody who's ever had their kids taken away from them because their neighbor saw them smoking a joint in their backyard, unfit to be parents now, okay, Karen. But then you have the other major crisis right now with the coronaphobia lockdowns. And when it's such a stupid thing in terms of how we even talk about it, because let's be clear, we have a virus with a lower mortality rate than testifying against Hillary Clinton. And by the way, anytime I mention her name, I have to say I am not now, nor have I ever been suicidal. But, this is, it's a dark cloud over the whole world right now. And it's not the virus, it's the government response. I'm not saying the virus isn't real. The fear around it, though, it's a hoax. It's all a hoax. All the measures, and the thing is, it's kind of like 9/11. We know that what the government told us about 9/11 is mostly bullshit. But even if it was completely true, it's still not a good reason to invade and occupy Iraq and Afghanistan and have a global war on terror that goes for decades, where we have kids in Iraq and Afghanistan now who weren't born when 9/11 happened. There's no freaking reason. And it's the same thing with this virus. We shouldn't even be arguing, well, what's the fatality rate really? Well, did that guy who, fell out of an airplane and his parachute didn't open, did he really die of corona right before he hit the ground? Can we spell that? Was it corona death? I don't know, man. It's not an excuse for what the government is doing.
Right, but hey, never let a good crisis go to waste, though, right? We've seen it over and over again. Like you said, 9/11, and 9/11 wasn't the first time, right? Wasn't the first time, definitely won't be the last. And clearly, the government here in the United States is willing to attempt that routine at bigger and bigger scale, right? So,
if that's the case, I'm still kind of relieved. Because it's like if you look at Steven Pinker's work, and this is a big part of my worldview, Harvard professor, great TED Talk, his book, The Better Angels of Our Nature. The TED Talk is The Surprising Decline in Violence. You see human violence on the decline over human history. That means the war racket is getting less vicious. The government racket as a whole, even though government grows, would you rather live under a giant peaceful government or a tiny government that murders a million random people every day? Obviously, the measure of evil of government is how much value and life it destroys, not how big it is. So
sure, I'd never heard the trolley problem framed that way. By the way, it's my first time hearing that one in particular. It's great.
Well, if you want to unpack that thought exercise, it's a lot of fun. It's got some important implications. But just with this right here, hey, they're killing people. The corona hoax is killing people. It is leading to an increase in suicides, financial desperation, mental health problems not being addressed, irritation. We covered the story on Adam versus the Man this week of last week of cancer diagnoses being way down, which is not, oh, look, coronavirus cured a bunch of people's cancer. No, it means that people are afraid to go to the hospital and get diagnosed and get treated, and it means that they're going to be dying in the coming years more than they have been as a result. There are real consequences to this. The cure is far worse than the disease, and we could have had a reasoned response to this whole thing, but we don't. Still, if this is like, instead of going through a war every couple decades, we go through a virus scare and they bully us into hazmat suit bubble boy world, I think that represents the continuation of human progress towards a world of greater peace and harmony and less violence, especially by government democide.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was going to say
I have a question that I want to make sure that I get to ask you, and it doesn't exactly go right here, but we only have about 15 minutes left. So I want to ask what your thoughts are on the number of smaller independent candidates running this year, and whether or not that has a positive, what kind of impact you think that could have on getting a 5% vote for one specific third party.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. I'm hugely supportive of this. And this is a big thing within the Libertarian Party. And by the way, for your audience, which I know is not like, all Libertarian Party people, there are a lot of people who, in the crypto sphere, who are anarcho-capitalists. And I describe myself as a voluntarist. I'm, not every government is necessarily evil. It's possible to have voluntary government. Obviously, like, I'm okay with student body government. I don't have a problem with that. You want to do it's fine. But like here and where I live in Gardenia, this is my sovereign 10 acres in the mountains of Arizona. The full title, well, I can't tell you the full title because I can't remember the whole thing, but it's something like the sovereign, allodial, bountiful, proprietarian monarchy, kingdom of the Garden of Freedom and Perpetuity. I mean, it's a really nice full title.
It sounds pretty official. It sounds way official.
Thank you. Or Gardenia for short. So it's a proprietarian monarchy. You can, and my title, I'll spare you my long title. I mean, it starts with God Emperor King Adam Charles Kokesh the First. You can just call me King Adam for short if you want. That's cool. But no, to your point of like, the candidates, that was a big sidebar. I'm a huge fan of people, even who just don't believe in voting, who don't believe in the process, saying, you know what, I'm being taxed. I am being stolen from by government for government to make itself relevant in my life. And so there's a free platform sitting here. And if I fill out a goddamn form and give them $100 for the paperwork, I get to jump up on this platform. In a lot of places, you don't even have to pay to file. That's just an example. But you can run for city council, to run for mayor, to run for state rep, to run for U.S. Congress, U.S. Senate, or as I did this cycle for the Libertarian Party nomination for president. It's a chance for you, to get out and connect with your community or some political subdivision of artificial barriers based on political history and gerrymandering, right? But you get this opportunity to connect with people. And even if we had someone in every race going, yeah, I'm not here to win, but this whole thing is fucked, you should vote. That would be better than that person not being there. Now, I actually believe that it's not the primary means or mechanism of change. It's really more about the paradigm, right? Changing how people think all over the world to be, to do the libertarian thing of applying ethics to politics, because that's all libertarianism is. It's how, if we believe you own yourself, don't hit, don't steal, don't kill, how do we apply that universally to politics? Well, libertarianism is the answer to that question. And I do actually believe that we are going to get the obvious political manifestation of that in change realized through politics. Did that sentence hold together? I don't know. But that we are going to actually get that we can do it by localization. And if we end up not electing someone like Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen, our current nominees for president and vice president for the Libertarian Party, that would be amazing. And we would be able to radically scale back the size of government before getting to localization, taking it apart from the top down, truly dissolving it and fundamentally transforming it into a voluntary entity. I don't think we're likely. I disagree with the Jorgensen-Cohen and basically everybody except me strategy. I think we're more likely to build a political consensus with localization, right? I can go to the American people and say, hey, I'm a libertarian, agree with me, and I'll be a libertarian president. Or you can say, hey, I respect our differences. Libertarians say you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you don't force it on anybody. Wouldn't you rather have more control over whatever government you're going to be forced under? Let's get it local enough first so your vote matters, and eventually get it all the way down to the community level where it's voluntary. You can have a government as big or as small as you want, and you will never have any element of government force on you personally. What's more American than that? And I think that's a better strategy. But anything that people can do, back to your question, I usually bring it back to the subject. I want to see, and you didn't name the Libertarian Party there, but yes, getting to 5%, I think that's reasonable as an expectation with Jorgensen-Cohen right now. Hopefully 10%, we can have a real solid breakout year for the LP, but 5% would achieve that. But to the way you phrase the question of independents or third-party candidates, you know, Green Party, Constitution Party, all these other, I mean, we are by far the biggest with the LP. I think if we could concentrate forces to take down the duopoly, that would be ideal. But I support everybody who's running to challenge the establishment, you know, especially as third-party or independent candidates for all of those beautiful reasons.
What do you think about writing in Satoshi Nakamoto?
I mean, I'm not. I like the sentiment. I think it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah.
If you're going to bother to go to the government voting booth, and by the way, you know, like I said, I live here on 10 sovereign acres where I'm homesteading, working with geodesic domes, and I don't know if you guys want at the end of the interview, maybe we'll give you a little. Take the camera outside, give you a little preview of what we're building here. But I also have an outhouse, and we call the outhouse our voting booth. So, you know, vote early, vote often. That's my motto.
Well, I mean, I imagine you're using composting toilet there, and you're actually feeding the soil with that. Here's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can salt the earth if you don't do it the right way, or you can feed the next generation, right?
Yes.
What we do echoes into eternity. So definitely appreciate you bringing that up. Let me ask real fast. I'm just going to interject really quickly, and maybe on a slightly more serious note. You've mentioned dismantling from the top.
Can we get more? Wait. You want to get more serious than veteran suicides and taking apart the federal government?
We're going deep, Adam.
Satanism? All right, fine.
But on just with regards to the structure of the United States of America, the way it's structured right now, things that maybe work, things that maybe don't work. What's your view on the Bill of Rights, and specifically the first 5 amendments? They're very intensely personal, right? They're very much about the individual. The first 5 is in particular. Is it broken?
Well, let me turn it around and ask you a question first. Who was the first president of America?
The first president of America? I mean, I'm told it's George Washington.
It's not a trick question. It's just a sign of how badly we've been miseducated. It's actually Samuel Huntington, and there were 13 presidents before George Washington under the actual legitimate current legal constitution that's supposed to be governing this country, known as the Articles of Confederation. And under the Articles of Confederation, it was supposed to require unanimous consent to change that document, and especially if you're going to replace it with a whole new one and call that the Constitution. And this is something that's really dangerously written out of American history. But the installation of the current Constitution was a coup. It was something that the leadership of the colonies, now sovereign states, were strong-armed and bullied into. Rhode Island was a big holdout, but only 9 out of 13 of the states actually signed the hey, we all agreed we're going to do this. It's like consent in sex, right? You know, consent is continuous. You can withdraw it at any time. No means no. Right now has to stop, right? So when you say, well, you know, and that that applies to group sex as well as, couple sex. You see where I'm going with this, right? If you're at an orgy with 13 people and you say, hey, we're going to respect consent the whole time, and then partway through you go, no, we're going to do this totally other kinky thing, and if 4 of you want out, tough shit, we're taking away your consent. Well,
right.
no, I'm
you
sorry.
already said yes.
Yeah, like that's a gang rape at that point. Like that's what this country turned into. And it was at the behest of central bankers, the same social and financial elites that ran Europe, now going, hey, we have an opportunity to run the new world as well through central banking. You heard the quote from, I think it was it one of the Rothschilds? I care not who makes the laws, allow me to control a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes the laws. Yeah, if you have the license to print money and you're the only one, yeah, you can control whatever you want.
Right, it's the golden rule.
Hamilton. So I'm sorry, this is a big tangent, but this is like my background in sort of understanding. To answer your question, you say, is the Bill of Rights working? Yeah, it is working because it was an excuse from the beginning. It was, hey, colonists, give us this power that we shouldn't have in the first place, and we promise we won't abuse it. See, we're putting these limits on ourselves. It's like the mafia coming up with a code of conduct in order to get you to accept their protection racket. It's nonsense. Give me liberty or give me death. Patrick Henry said, there were people who were anti-federalists who didn't want there to be this new central power in the United States. And it was basically forced on us. So the Bill of Rights, it was just an excuse. Of course they're not going to follow it. Is it working? And when I was running for Congress as a Republican, I'm sorry, I was endorsed by Ron Paul. I had to do it. It was the only way he would support. It was part of the Ron Paul strategy in 2010. But I feel like a douchebag now thinking back. I was the guy, look, it's the Constitution. I had the pocket Constitution back. You remember this? Look, the government, it lies, and it cheats, and it steals, and it murders, and it doesn't even follow its own rules. Well, no shit. You have a right to bear arms. Bullshit. You have a privilege. And for me as a felon, it's been taken away. You have a right to freedom of speech. Bullshit. People are locked up for victimless crimes regarding information all the time. You think you have a right to privacy and legal protection from unreasonable search and seizure for the Fourth Amendment? No, of course not. Now, having soldiers housed in your quarters, we've kind of moved past the Third Amendment problem, right? But yeah,
we haven't. No, Adam. No, we haven't. Here's the thing. It's come up. It's come up recently with COVID.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
and here's just it.
Right.
Like so that's why this is why I'm bringing up these talking points. Now, without naming names, I have spoken to people who are interested in the 2020 election cycle, and they've kind of drawn blank. They're not even familiar with those guidelines, we'll call them. And as you're saying, yeah, they kind of turn this into privileges, not so much rights, based on past behavior or abuse. But that's why I bring it up, is just to talk about how, yeah, even the Third Amendment, which it seemed like a dead issue, right? For our entire lifetime. And in 2020, it's like, every rule can be broken. No holds barred. This is the year of absolute insanity. And the Third Amendment has been in question.
Yeah. Well, I would still make the point that compared to the others, just because we have such a profusion of wealth, because the military-industrial complex has already sufficiently raped the economy, they can afford housing without having to quarter troops and civilian residences for the most part. We're historically speaking past that as an issue. But no, obviously, yeah, the fundamental. But this is why even enumerating your rights is a dangerous way of turning them into privileges. And I would say, no, do you have a right to own a gun? Yeah, but who cares? You have a right to own property, and no one has a right to say you can't own a piece of metal in that shape because I don't like it. No, screw you. I have a right to own property. I own myself. I'm not a slave. You can tell me I can't bring my gun on your property. You have that right. And so similarly in the bigger picture, why I'm such a fan of localization, is libertarianism pro-gun or anti-gun? It's really neither. It's pro-private property. And if you want to live in a gun-free zone, yeah, you have the right to do that. You can come together and form a community, and you can put up
I'm going to interject and say it's probably a dumb idea, because anybody who lives a pro-gun life can come in and change that.
Right now, I'm not going to live there, but that's okay. I respect your right to be wrong. And if you want to put up a sign outside of your town that says no viruses allowed, I'm sure it'll work just as well as your no guns allowed sign.
On that, I think we agree 100%. So, Nicole, I know that we're on an accelerated schedule today. And I'm sorry, Adam. We really wanted to be able to chat with you for as long as you had tonight. We're on an accelerated schedule because we got triple booked today, it's an odd problem for us.
Yeah,
bullish for Bitcoin. Bullish for Bitcoin.
Hell yeah.
And we had triple booked today.
Very cool.
We have like 10 minutes until Charles. So we have Charles Hoskinson coming on next, and we're a crypto show.
Yeah, but I mean, Deal. Bet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, real quick. Sorry, Seth. You go ahead because I've been monopolizing this.
No, not at all.
Okay. So, hey, you mentioned, I think it was in a show, a really recent episode, you were talking about your friend Morpheus. I'm familiar with the Morpheus story because I used to attend the Phoenix Bitcoin meetup. So, so Morpheus' side of the story is one, though, that I don't know. I really kind of... The other narrative was like dominated my understanding of that situation. And I'm wondering if you can point me to a source for the version, for Morpheus, sort of.
Yeah, I'll give you his number.
He's in prison.
Wait, no, Morpheus is out now.
Oh, is he? Is he out
now? He didn't go back like last night, did he? I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
So yeah. So he's got a really interesting story, and Morpheus Titania, as his Bitcoin trader name, is also known as Thomas Costanzo, longtime friend of mine. He's actually come out and put some time in on the chainsaw out here in Gardenia when we were putting our fence line in. And I've known him from the Ron Paul days with the Ernie Hancock, freedomsphoenix.com, meetups for activists in Phoenix, and I've been to the Bitcoin meetups. I've posted some videos of speeches I've recorded at the Bitcoin meetups in Phoenix. Morpheus is a great activist. I mean, when I was in court and they read his rap sheet off, I was like, yeah. Everything they were saying that he got arrested for over the last 3 decades of activism. It was just a beautiful moment. But yeah, he went to jail because he was set up on a Bitcoin trading, knowing that it was going to be used for some blah, blah, blah illegal purpose. And it was a setup. He was set up by the feds and ended up doing, I think, most of 2 years. And he got out last year with a year-long plus house arrest thing. And he wasn't able to talk about his case publicly yet. So it might not be time. And he still has an appeal in, even though he's out. And this is just, what a warrior he is, always having been in it for the cause first, even though he's essentially, he might get, his probation time reduced or something. He's still going to the trouble of fighting this because it's an important one for the Bitcoin community. And so I hope you guys will have him on as a guest. I should check in with him. So thank you for the reminder. I assume he's still at the point where he's not allowed to or I should say it's not legally advisable for him to discuss it yet publicly, but I was planning on having him on when it is. And there have been, why do you even need to hear his side of the story? You read the federal indictment, you go, holy crap, this guy is the victim here.
I'm not talking about the indictment. I'm talking about the division that it created within the Phoenix Bitcoin community.
I'm not even familiar with that. What was the division?
There was, without spending too much time going into it, there was the case created a division within the Phoenix Bitcoin community because Morpheus gave up somebody else. At least that's the version of the story that I know.
No.
So yeah.
There's no credibility to that. Morpheus, I heard the accusations. I remember that. Now I know what you're talking about. No, Morpheus That is not the case whatsoever. He not only would never do that. I've seen him go. I've been arrested with him. I got arrested with him with guns and drugs going through a border patrol checkpoint, getting hit with a dog driving from Arizona to California. And I've seen him in that situation. There's a lot more to the story than that. He would not. And to my knowledge, has not done anything in that sense that would be improper. He's a man who, in fact, I could say has done the opposite, because he probably had specific opportunities to rat on other people. Instead, he sucked it up and he did his time.
Yeah, no, I would love to hear his, ask some questions specifically about that story. And I didn't know that he was out of jail, but it's been a while since I've checked in with that community. So yeah, let me know if when you talk to him, if he's willing to talk, or if he can talk, even if it's not on the record. I just want to know. Remind me
if he's on Telegram. Use Telegram.
Mm-hmm.
I'll introduce you there. We can make that happen for sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Can I ask you just kind of a parting question? We're very privacy focused on this show, just because, as you mentioned before, you don't have rights except for the ones that you can claw out for yourself in today's world. We know technologically that the nation states, they have got so much at their disposal. So anything we can do to at least claw back our privacy from, say, advertisers, at least, is something, right? It's maybe a step towards reclaiming personal sovereignty over one's data and activities. Maybe.
It might be a distraction, right? It might be futile.
Maybe. So on that note, do you use anything to increase your security and your privacy at all? If so, what would you recommend other people try?
I recommend you put a piece of paper over your webcam when you're, using the internet for what it's for. Yeah. Here's my position on this, because I know that there's a lot you can do right now, and unless you have end-to-end offline encryption with an air gap, and what I mean for people who don't know is that you have your encryption happen on a device that's not connected to the internet. You put it on a thumb drive or a disk of some kind, and you take it across the air gap. You put it on a device that is connected to the internet. You transmit it, you download it, you take it, you do the reverse process. You take it on a device across a disk or a thumb drive across the air gap, off the internet to a computer to decrypt it. Unless you do that, you do not know for certain that any of your online communications are secure. You do not know. You cannot, and it is fucked up. It really, and I am pissed off. I know being offended is fucking bullshit. And so I say that again, and Epictetus, right, or Epictetus, if something angers you, it becomes your master. No, I'm being facetious. I'm not really angered by this, but it really sucks. I'm not angry. I'm just very disappointed right now. It's really disappointing that we have this technology and the ability to do this with encryption, but because we live in a world where governments with the powers that they have exist with backdoors, with the ability to bully all the corporations that handle these devices, you don't know literally any device you have connected to the internet. And you want to go to the great, I'm sure Adam, but if you get Linux and you get this and you get that, and then you get this, and then you get that, and then you can know for sure, okay, yes, if you want to bend over backwards, fine. You can go to that effort. So for my purposes, it's easier to just assume that none of my digital communication is 100% secure, and to live with honesty and transparency. And if I really need something secure, sometimes I put my cell phone in the glove box and we go for a walk, and you go, okay. And it's sad. That's the only way you can conveniently know for sure. So that's, for my purposes, that's my general attitude towards privacy and encryption with today's technology.
Okay, got it.
Right?
No, not at all. This is great.
Not for me, but
well, you're one of the first guests.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, but you're one of the first guests that just said it in such a plain way. Essentially, what I'm hearing from you is just disinvite the wiretap from your immediate person before you say anything you want to keep private.
Right.
Yep.
Cool.
That makes sense. Right. Hey, Adam, we could keep going forever, but we have to go to the Charles interview. But thank you so much for being here. Yeah, we're already 15 minutes over your book. So yeah, your I don't know, your assistant booked you for 30 minutes, and then I was like, oh, maybe we'll get 45. And yeah, so but thank you so much for being here. And hey, everyone, stick around. We're going to be right back with Charles Hoskinson.
We are, but before,
I'm sorry, Nicole. Before we wrap up, we have to say something like really offensive so that people will share this on Twitter.
Okay.
All right, let's get canceled. Do it.
Yeah, I mean, what did you already give your pedophiles should not be censored speech? I don't understand.
Enough. Former libertarian presidential candidate on pooping in a bucket. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. It's too bad that we weren't live streaming when you were talking about how bad you wanted your snot to be broadcast.
Well, hold on. I did want to give you guys a quick visual parting shot. Let me turn my screen brightness up for a second. I can see what I'm looking at here. Just very briefly, so that your audience can see the beauty of Gardenia. This is my retro studio, the old Freedom Wagon. We've got these beautiful juniper trees everywhere, and you can see in the background here, I'm building my dream dome house with a 28-foot geodesic dome. I built myself. We've got our camp kitchen, all sorts of other fun stuff. Follow us on Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. Also, Garden of Freedom, thegardenofreedom.com. We got that URL. How cool is that? So if anybody wants to get involved with our project, all the fun stuff we got going on here, send me an email, Adam@thefreedomline. And again, Seth, Nicole, thank you so much for the opportunity to connect with your audience today.
Thank you for being on the show, guys. Go sub to all the channels. Be supportive.